is the Korean version, but
Yeah, we kind of have the infrastructure for it, so we're jumping into this match here. It's gonna be game one on Cactus Valley between Believe and EJK, and we're already in game, so let's go ahead and get this started. And the top right hand corner of Cactus Valley, it is our blue Terran player winning his first match and moving on to the winners from Endurance Sports. It's EJK.
and in the top left, we have our Team Extreme Supremacy player in the green. Their name is Believe.
So yeah, I didn't realize this about EJK until I started casting him, but EJK definitely a fan of mech, and he's not afraid to pull it out in different scenarios here. So EJK definitely making Believe a little bit hesitant and going into this series feeling like that maybe he's gonna pull out mech out of this map with this wide open space. So maybe something Believe just doesn't have too much experience from, and it's just like, oh god, please don't do this.
Yeah, it's an interesting little mind game thing because traditionally if you go on Reddit or Team Liquid or anywhere, people will just tell you that Mech versus Protoss is garbage, right? It's just bad. But if you the thing is like Protoss don't practice against it because they're not used to it. So you can get them even off surprise value alone. So that's an interesting little mind game you can play there.
Yeah, definitely true, definitely true. But we did actually, now that I'm thinking about it, back in the qualifier session 4, we were casting Creature versus, it was another Terran player. For the life of me, I can't remember that name because it felt like it was an Aeon ago. But the Terran player actually went for Siege Tank Mech, and even scouting, after scouting 5 Stargates that Creature threw down, didn't really react to it at all. He didn't get any like starports up to make Vikings or anything, and Creature was just able to get Tempest and Carriers simultaneously,
Oh
and
god.
Creature just kind of rolled through it. As you know, it was one of those classic like Bronze League versus Masters League sort of things where it's just, oh, I hear with my tanks, and all of a sudden just there's just air units.
Except the Masters League managed, or for some reason, was making carriers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get what you mean. That sounds. I'm gonna have to find that game and take a look at it because I did not get to see that.
Yeah, it was a rather entertaining game. Me and Husheng were definitely chuckling about it because we didn't understand the 5 Stargates going down on 2 bases. We're just like, can you afford that?
Oh, just professional player things.
But yeah, no. So we're gonna see. Believe is gonna go ahead and take his Nexus here. So getting a second gas as well. So just kind of getting things set up, and I just realized Game Heart's not turned on, but that's all right because it's not a necessary component for these games. And EJK is actually gonna go ahead and get his expansion as well. So, and we did see that he went gas before Barracks. So definitely gonna go probably for some sort of form of a Widow Mine drop here shortly, and yeah, both
Yeah,
players kind
I
of doing the
was
thing.
I was immediately thinking Widowmine drop, but now I'm a little confused just because there is no starport in production. So I guess it's just defensive Widowmines into potentially a drop later, but it's not like your rushed out Widowmine drop that you're used to seeing.
Yeah, yeah, I would have to agree with that here because we do see that he's looking to get his third command center and just continuing to pump out Marines. So definitely just looking to get that defense up, and even this Widow Mine actually got a kill here. I believe that was a probe. Yep, probe trying to get in on the action here to scout.
Now the probe would have scouted at least the fact that there are widow mines out, so that's a good bit of information in itself. This observer will be the first thing that pops out of the robo.
Yeah, believe probably thinking that there is a Widow Mine drop on the way, so he's gonna go ahead and get that observer out as fast as he can, just to be safe. And it's never bad to go for an observer, so it's not like he's taking any shortcuts or because he got that observer he's, you know, vulnerable for a period of time. So
But the one thing is that it will keep Believe held back in his base, not really sure of what to expect. And we have a second factory. There's a
yeah,
second factory and siege tank production. So this is mech.
we're going full mech, boys. We're going full mech.
Okay, well we'll see what the plan is, because like I was saying earlier, Protoss players don't really expect to play against mech, and you know, us humble casters don't really expect to be casting mech versus Terran, or mech versus Protoss. So I'm curious and excited for what the style of mech is going to be. I think Thor heavy is a little better against Protoss than you're used to seeing with mech, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's just because that the siege tanks, being armored units, they still, like relatively speaking to the Thors, they have less health. So that the big argument is that Protoss can just make immortals and just A-move. Well, I mean, they can do that anytime, but especially against mech here, they'll be able to kind of rip apart these siege tanks quickly, where the Thor kind of has a little bit more of a opportunity to attack. But we do see a third base is going down for Believe, so Believe knows that he's just kind of safe to go ahead and chill. He sees that third command center already there, so he's gonna go ahead and get that place down so he can keep up with his opponent. And Dark Shrine actually coming out from Believe, and a Warp Prism, so we're gonna start seeing some DT harassment.
Now, I really like this move. You know, Believe has seen that this is a meching Terran. He's seen the siege tanks, so going for DTs, you know, it's not the hard counter immortal that you were talking about and everybody else brings up in this example. But the cool thing about this is it's sort of like a soft counter where you're abusing the fact that mech is slow and positional, and you can just tear them apart with something like DT harass.
Yeah, definitely, but he is gonna have to be smart with it because there are a ton of missile turrets set up and siege tanks all kind of spread apart. So, gonna have to be smart with how he's gonna do it. And usually it takes that first couple of DTs to start figuring out where everything is. So, we do see a third base expansion is being placed down finally for EJK, and siege tanks appropriately moved over there.
Yep, but now with this third base, the DT harass will become a lot more effective, because I mean, with two bases, it's pretty easy to cover basically everything. But once you add in that third base with this slow like sieged up army, you have a lot more difficulty hitting all of your important places.
You will have to watch out for these Hellions and Marines that are conveniently sitting in the main base, just kind of being lazy and idle. So
convenient lazy idleness.
Yeah, we do see the Warp Prism does go down, and DTs are going to go ahead and get some kills here, but some of the DTs beat on a scan range, and they're actually going to get out from this Warp Prism, so good save from that to be able to come back later with those. But actually getting some damage done, killing a couple SCVs in the process. So
yeah, I mean, I'd say that was well worth it for Believe. He traded 2 scans, a few SCVs for 1 DT.
yeah, so EJK is gonna go ahead and do his own drop here. This time it's gonna be 3 Hellions, and there's actually nothing here to defend it right now. So these are blue flames, so gonna go ahead and start getting some probe kills here. We see Photon Overcharge goes down here, but he's just gonna pick up and go to the next base. And smartly putting those Hellions in a space that's gonna be untouchable by melee units. But he's just gonna go ahead and leave here before he can get too much damage done. But the Blue Flame Hellions definitely a big threat. But that medevac actually just went down.
Yeah, so losing that medevac really puts a bit of a damper in the plan of EJK, because like you don't really want to make that many medevacs when you're meching, just because like it's a fairly gassy investment, and it doesn't really do that much for you. Like it, medevacs with a bio army obviously have the dual purpose of giving you drop access and also just healing your army. But with this, you lose half of the effectiveness. So losing that single medevac is actually a huge deal.
Yeah, we do see the Widow Mine gets cleared out by our Protoss player, and we actually see the Warp Prism actually gets taken out. So Viking for a Warp Prism, I think that's worth it for EJK.
Where did the DTs go? Because there were the DTs in that Warp Prism earlier.
I'm guessing I missed that somewhere in this craziness here, but we also missed something else. You see what's over on the left side?
Oh, the carrier transition. So if this goes unscouted by EJK, that's going to be massive. Three Stargate carrier is huge, but there is a force going into the third base that I think it's Hellions.
Yeah. The Hellions getting a lot of damage done in here, so a ton of probes going down. Even the cactus behind them are even burning, and we're gonna see that that's gonna help bring the worker count for Believe down. So, but I just noticed this fusion core.
Tempest carriers versus battle cruisers. This is like StarCraft fan fiction.
This is fan fiction in its pure self. And we're going to see Hellions are going to continue to distract Believe here. And actually, does Believe even know about the fusion core? He does not quite yet, so. But Carrier has arrived, as I've just heard from the sound somewhere, that we have the first two carriers sitting out in the middle of the map. By map, I mean his base. Starting to build those interceptors, getting ready to go ahead and do what carriers do best.
Now, Believe doesn't know about the fusion core, but EJK doesn't know about the carrier transition. So this is an interesting bit of misinformation for both players.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure both players right now are just kind of like, okay, what's going on? Because they both don't really have enough information to conclude one's going for the other. And so EJK's accomplishing this by buying himself time with these Hellions, these Blue Flame Hellions that are getting so much damage in. And then at the same time, we did have those DTs a little bit from Believe, but that's not really an option at this point, so. But I'm still kind of afraid.
Hellions.
Yeah.
They're doing so much damage.
Yeah, they're pulling their weight in gold here. Like they're made from gold barrels.
They might see. I think they're gonna see the carriers.
Yeah.
Oh, they're revealed. So the carrier switch is now known, which means that there's gonna be like non-stop Viking battlecruiser production. Actually, Yamato cannon would be a pretty good choice against this as well, because you can just start to nuke those really high health targets.
Yeah. So EJK being a little bit more in the clear, in the light than Believe is, but Believe with his carriers, it might not be a thing that he actually needs a scout, because carriers they can do a lot if they get masked up, even against large fleet cattle cruisers.
And even Believe now switching into Tempest as well, so maybe preemptively expecting the battle cruisers. Oh, so many more probes die right there. Like, there have been so many probes that have died this game, and yet Believe is still up on workers. I guess because EJK doesn't really need that many workers with a whole bunch of orbitals. But
yeah, these Hellions just continuing to do massive amounts of damage here. If we look at the units lost count for workers, that's 51 probes from Believe that have been taken out. So that's huge.
I mean, that is more probes than your average Platinum League Protoss makes in an entire game.
That's so true here. And this Protoss army is going to move out here. We do see that he has a good amount of Immortals in this composition, but these Stalkers are going to need to start slowly bleeding out and trying to trade them away to get some value from them, because Stalkers, they're not going to be able to do too much DPS, and these battle cruisers with 550 health, yeah, it's going to take a long while for Stalkers to take one down.
I guess the one benefit of the Stalkers is they could maybe focus down these Vikings and then give the rest of the air units a chance to fight more effectively against the battlecruiser force, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder, I didn't realize that Tempests are still kind of viable to go, and I think it's just purely their range, so their range will definitely help out with trying to get some positioning and force some engagements too, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, Mass Tempest is still fairly viable just because of the range. The one other thing is they still do have some bonus against Massive, so they'll do a substantial chunk of damage to the battle cruisers, but certainly not nearly as much as they used to.
Yeah, so we're gonna see the fleet, the Golden Armada of our Protoss player is gonna join up with the ground forces, and we're gonna start seeing kind of the positioning war gonna happen here. We do see that EJK is getting that next base up, and then his battle cruisers and everything are starting to kind of float around, and both players are just gonna continue to play passively while trying to set themselves up for a good engagement.
Now, one thing I noticed is that Believe is now throwing in some High Templar with this army, so a lot of these battle cruisers, they've been building up energy for like the past 10 minutes, and one feedback on that I don't think it'll insta-kill it. No, definitely not, but it'll take a lot of these down to half health.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that I remember Squirtle doing that in the game against MVP way back in Wings of Liberty was still a thing. But big engagement's gonna happen, and the battle cruisers beat a little bit late to the engagement, so these interceptors are gonna have a good time. But feedback's gonna go down where they lose that energy, and actually a good amount of the carriers get taken out. So these battle cruisers are gonna continue to press forward here, but there's still a good amount of Tempests here. So these Tempests are continuing to lay down some fire, and this is gonna force those battle cruisers to retreat.
The Tempest, the real heroes of that fight, doing so much damage to the battle cruisers. A few of the battle cruisers look like they will get out, but I just don't think there's going to be enough to stop this Protoss force barreling through here.
Yeah.
Fittingly, the Immortals are like the only thing that survive on the ground, but now they're being reinforced by some Stalkers and Archon, and there's also just the Tempest in the air backing them up.
Yeah, we do have a good amount of Ravens in the sky so far, but they're already starting to get sniped, so EJK definitely in a big trouble because he just doesn't have any ground units to even like support. These battle cruisers are taking time to try to deal with this, but then they just the Tempest have to just come in and just forces those battle cruisers to stay back. So
I mean, the one thing that EJK has going for him is that Raven count, because each of the Tempest shots is just one projectile for the PDD, but there's just not enough stuff.
Oh, I didn't even realize the PDD would shoot down a... That just seems funky to me, but that's GG.
That is GG. It is a little clunky, but I actually... me and Infinity were casting some of the WCS games from the qualifier for the third season, and it was Mech versus Protoss. I think it was Rough versus I can't remember who the Protoss was, but they decided to go Mass Tempest, and Rough just had like 5 Ravens and a bunch of Vikings, and that was it.
Oh.
That was it. Yeah, every single Tempest shot blocked.
Jeez.
The worst ending to an hour-long game you'll ever see.
Oh. Yeah, it just seems really silly that a big blue blast from the Tempest can get shot down by a small little PDD.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Like, you think of, like, I know that the unit sizing in these games are definitely not proportionate. As you can see, the Stalker is like half the size of a battle cruiser, but it
But
still
yeah,
seems pretty silly. But
I totally know what you mean. And well, I think the only reason we didn't really see that effect in the main battle was because there were carriers there as well, and carriers burn like they burn through PDDs so fast that you may as well not use them because you have
hmm
like 12 things shooting 2 shots each per carrier. But
right, right.
but yeah, just pure Tempest is oh so hilariously bad. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're waiting to see what the second